Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Sperry, and today we've got the latest Steelers mock draft roundup where I'm going to be reacting to who the top NFL draft analysts around all of draft media are projecting for the Pittsburgh Steelers in round one of the 2025 NFL Draft when this team selects their pick at number 21 overall in Green Bay in just a few short weeks. But before we get into the content today, guys, shout out your guy down there in the comments section. Who do you want the Pittsburgh Steelers to take in round one this year? Do you want them to take a defensive tackle? Do you want them to take a running back? Do you want them to take a quarterback? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Who is your favorite draft prospect for the Steelers to target this year? So we'll start with the Godfather himself here, Mel Kiper Jr., who projects the Pittsburgh Steelers will take defensive tackle out of Oregon, Derrick Harmon. Now, Harmon has actually compared his game to Cam Hayward, which is why he is a fan favorite among Steelers fans right now. This is what Mel Kiper Jr. had to say about this fit. I'm going to assume they sign Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, which will take care of the quarterback position. Running back is a potential play if Ashton Jeanty or Omarion Hampton is available. Cornerback also could be the move as new signing Darius Slay is 34 and on a one-year deal. However, I'm addressing the defensive line in my projection. Harmon has the versatility to move all over the D-line, but his best spot is inside, where he can use his speed and power to be disruptive. So listen, man, my thoughts on Derrick Harmon is that he is extremely disruptive. Quick mover, great get off, really quick and powerful hands, and he can get to the backfield very quickly. But he does have a tackling issue. He has a missed tackle rate of over 20%, which is astronomical. And the reason for that, guys, at least in part, is because sometimes he's so disruptive, he gets out of position, and then he ends up missing tackles, all right? So he does rack up the tackle for loss numbers. He racks up the sack numbers. He is a disruptive force. And when it comes to the defensive tackle position, guys, having a disruptive interior pass rusher is so important and can be a game-changing presence for your defense. My preferred defensive tackle is actually not Derrick Harmon, though, guys. It is Kenneth Grant, the nose tackle out of Michigan. He's the best run-defending DT in this class, in my opinion. He's 340 pounds, but he's a fantastic athlete. I would like Kenneth Grant because you can move Keanu Benton back to maybe more his more preferred position, which is 3 technique, and you can put Cam Hayward at 5 technique, and you can allow Kenneth Grant to eat those double teams and be the true run stuffer that this defense really needs right now. But a dark horse to keep your eye on, especially if the Steelers trade down in the first round, which is more than possible, is Darius Alexander out of Toledo. As you guys know, Mike Tomlin likes to get very involved at the Senior Bowl. He is right there watching all the players, especially the trench players. And Darius Alexander arguably had the best week in Mobile out of any defensive tackle present. He is versatile. He can play nose. He can play 3. He can play 5. He's got very powerful hands. He plays with good technique. And I think that he is one of the more well-rounded defensive tackles in this entire class. So keep your eye on Darius Alexander. He's a Sperry psycho this year, and I think he could sneak into the first round. And if the Steelers trade down, I think he might be a target that they look at. So pick a defensive tackle for me down there in the comments section. I would say this is probably the most likely position for the Steelers to take in round one here. So pick your guy. Type KG for Kenneth Grant. Type DH for Derrick Harmon, WN for Walter Nolan, or DA for Darius Alexander. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. And when that happens, take advantage of that time by letting me know who your top defensive tackle is for the Steelers this year. Then we'll move over to Fox Sports, where Joel Klatt, their NFL Draft Analyst and college football analyst, has the Steelers going offensive tackle for the 3rd straight season. Armin Membu out of Mizzou is his pick. Now, first things first here, guys. I think Membu is one of the guys that's one of the more fast risers in this year's draft class, and I think that he's going to go top 11. I think that his floor is the San Francisco 49ers at number 11, and I think he could go as high as number 4 to the New England Patriots. I also think that the New York Jets at number 7 would be highly interested in a guy like Armin Membu. Also, I'd be pretty shocked if the Pittsburgh Steelers end up going offensive tackle for the 3rd straight season in round one yet again. They traded up for Broderick Jones 2 years ago, and then they stayed put to take Troy Fautano out of Washington last year. All right, so unless their plan is to move Fautano to guard, which isn't impossible, he can play guard. I really do not see this as a possibility for the Steelers. And, you combine the fact that I think Membu's going to go a lot higher than when the Steelers are actually going to be ending up picking I just don't think that this is a realistic possibility for the black and gold. Sorry, Joel. Now, coming up here, Daniel Jeremiah's pick has gotten some controversy in Steelers Nation because of the position that he ends up picking here. I'll let you guys know who he has the Steelers taking in his latest mock draft. But before we get into that, if you guys want to check out our friends at Fanatics, they are currently pre-sailing DK Metcalf Steelers jerseys on their website. You can go chatsports.com/DK to pre-order your Steelers DK Metcalf jersey today. He's going to be wearing the number 4. And it really does help out the channel, guys, if you get your DK Metcalf through this source, because if you click our link, chatsports.com/DK, and you make a purchase, Fanatics is going to send us part of the proceeds to help us keep the lights on, improve our graphics, buy new equipment, do all the stuff that we need to do here at Chat Sports to continue to get you guys the best damn Steelers coverage money can buy, 100% free every single day. So thank you guys so much for all of your support. So Daniel Jeremiah has the Steelers taking quarterback Jaxson Dart out of Ole Miss with his in his latest NFL mock draft. And, there's a lot of people that really like Jaxson Dart and are perfectly fine with this pick. There's a lot of people that don't really love Jaxson Dart, and especially in the first round. Now, I think the reality of the situation here, guys, is that if the Pittsburgh Steelers strike out on Aaron Rodgers and they don't want to bring back Russell Wilson and they're dead set on that in free agency, then round 1 quarterback is absolutely a real possibility, because as much as, Steelers fans might like Mason Rudolph, I don't think that he is a legitimate long-term answer at the position. And I think the Steelers would want to get the future of the position in-house this year if they're unable to land either Rodgers or Russ in free agency. And Dart does fit what the Pittsburgh Steelers tend to look for in their starting quarterbacks. I mean, he compares a lot to Jalen Hurts, in my opinion. And Jalen Hurts just won a Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles, the team that the Steelers are trying to emulate in their team-building philosophy right now. So Dart has excellent touch down the field. He's a really good deep ball thrower. Mike Tomlin and Arthur Smith want to create an offense that is run heavy, but then uses a lot of play action and throws the ball down the field to their deep threats in DK Metcalf and George Pickens. I think that Jaxson Dart's ability to throw the ball down the field with touch, accuracy, and efficiency is something that they will find attractive. And apparently, according to some reports, the Steelers are very high on Jaxson Dart right now. And I do think that he is somebody that at least, Steelers fans need to get comfortable with the idea of the Steelers potentially taking in round 1, even though I do think it would be a bit of a reach. Then, speaking of quarterbacks in the first round, Dane Brugler, another NFL draft analyst from The Athletic that I really respect, also has the Steelers going quarterback, but he has Shedeur Sanders from Colorado falling to the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 21. And, I think that somebody is going to probably reach on Shedeur Sanders, because I do have a late first-round grade on him. And I wouldn't spend a top 5 or a top 10 pick on Shedeur Sanders, but hey, the Cleveland Browns are going to Cleveland Brown, right? So they're probably going to end up taking Shedeur Sanders at number 2 overall, passing on really, really high-end talents like Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter in the process. But I do have serious concerns about Shedeur, specifically in the AFC North and specifically here with the Pittsburgh Steelers, because I don't think he has a great NFL arm. So I don't really love that for a team that plays in the cold and in the wind and in the rain and in the elements. I don't love that. And then I think that another key weakness in his game is he doesn't throw with a lot of anticipation. I think he's a good mental processor, and he can go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 and get to his check down, but he has to see his wide receivers get open, and that's something you just can't have in the National Football League, especially if you have a below-average arm. So I think that Sanders has really high bust potential, and I honestly wouldn't love him here in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform. I think that's somebody that you do need to keep your eye on, though, especially if the Steelers trade down in round 1, is probably Tyler Shuck out of Louisville. All right, Shuck has already gotten a top 30 visit with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they probably met with him at the NFL Combine this year in Indianapolis, and he kind of fits what the Steelers would be looking for too. Like Jaxson Dart, he can throw that deep ball. He's fantastic within structure. He's arguably the best mental processor in this entire class. He's really, really accurate to all levels of the field. Tyler Shuck, I think, is maybe the most pro-ready quarterback in this entire class, maybe besides Cam Ward. And I think that if the Steelers are looking for somebody to start pretty quickly for them and to be successful, Tyler Shuck may give them the best chance to do that in his rookie season. So pick a quarterback for me down there in the comment section. If you got to take a quarterback in round 1, if you're the Steelers, which one are you taking? Type SS for Shedeur Sanders, JD for Jaxson Dart, or TS for Tyler Shuck. In just a second here, We're going to be talking about some of the other NFL mock drafts and who they have the Steelers taken. But before we get into that, let me know which quarterback you would like the Steelers to take if they have to take a quarterback. Then we get into Pro Football Focuses here with Trevor Sikkema, their lead NFL draft analyst, who has the Steelers taking Matthew Golden, the speedster wide receiver out of Texas. Now, Golden is a big play machine. He is a fantastic downfield threat. He's a great route runner. He can track the ball incredibly well down the field. And because of those reasons, I think he should be gone before pick number 21. In fact, there's rumors that he might be the first wide receiver taken overall, and he might end up being a top 10 pick. So I think Golden, because of the fast 40 time that he had this year, along with his tape, his after the catch ability, all the things that he brings to the table, I would be surprised if he's available for the Steelers when they're picking at number 21. And then also Ryan Wilson from CBS, their lead NFL draft analyst there, has the Steelers going wide receiver as well. He has them projected to take Luther Burden III out of Missouri. Now, I think Burden is very gettable, all right? Like, you look at all the guys from ESPN, even NFL Network, they have Burden falling out of the first round entirely. So I think that the chances that Luther Burden III, maybe the most dynamic playmaker in space at the wide receiver position in this entire class, is going to be available for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But when it comes to wide receiver, I'm not sure, unless they end up trading George Pickens, I don't think wide receiver is going to be a priority early on in the NFL draft. And the reason for that is that this is an offense that wants to be very run-heavy. They already have a top 2 wide receiver duo in DK Metcalf and George Pickens, and they do like their supplementary receiver options. They like Calvin Austin III. They like Roman Wilson. All right, so if they hang on to George Pickens, I think the chances of them drafting a wide receiver in round 1 go down close to 0. And the only way that I think that it becomes a possibility again is if they do end up trading away George Pickens, which isn't an impossibility, but I do think is unlikely at this point in time. Then the final mock draft that we're going to be talking about on today's show is Bucky Brooks from NFL Network, who has the Steelers taking Omarion Hampton, the running back, out of North Carolina. Now, what I'll say here, guys, is do not sleep on the Steelers taking this guy if he falls to number 21. All right, Hampton is an absolute stud at the running back position. He had over 1,200 yards rushing last year after contact. All right, he had like a full season's worth of yardage last year after he was contacted. So if you're looking for somebody that is able to shed tackles, that is able to get a lot of yardage after contact, this is Omarion Hampton, man. He's got really good acceleration, really good long speed, and like his foot speed is really, really special, man. It really is for somebody at his size. He reminds me a lot of Joe Mixon, and because the Steelers are trying to have as heavy of a run game as they want, like the Steelers want to have a run game like the Eagles, the 49ers, the Ravens, where they can run the football when the defense knows that they're running the football and still have success. In order to do that, you got to build up this offensive line right, and you got to get the right running back, all right? You got to have like a superstar level running back in that room. And as much as I like the running back prospects on day 2 and day 3 in this year's draft class, the chances you're going to get a day 1 superstar in the later rounds is definitely less likely than if you go out and get a guy like Omarion Hampton, who I think is ready to go right away to be a number 1 running back and to be a workhorse in the National Football League. So keep your eye on Omarion Hampton in round 1. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comments section. Should running back be on the table in round 1 for your Pittsburgh Steelers? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section. For me, if it's Ashton Jeanty or Omarion Hampton, I'm in. If it's anybody else, I'm out. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. And that'll be it for today's mock draft roundup for your Pittsburgh Steelers. Make sure you click that subscribe button right now for more extensive Steelers draft coverage all throughout the 2025 offseason.